Welcome. We are going to finish off this Myphitic Blight hauler tonight. Excuse me. If you have a look, he's in pretty good shape.
That golden
He needs some sort of wash
tender,
on his green
slow-cooked
parts.
chicken and rich homemade
Those
gravy.
got,
There's just
the
nothing like a Harrow's
primer was
chicken
Death
pie.
Guard green.
I'm Wally, and I'm Dan, and we're the Chicken Pie Guys.
Slimy grime,
We've been making our
dark
chicken pies
over
the
it.
same way for
Which
90
gives it
years,
a
and now
pretty
there
nice
are
texture,
easy new
a
ways
little
to
bit
get
darker
them.
color.
You can order ahead with the Harrow's
But it
app,
needs a
get
little
delivery
something
with Uber
else.
Eats, go
We're gonna find a way
online
to
and have
clean up
frozen
these
pies
messes
shipped to you,
too.
or just visit
So
one
this
of
is
our
probably going
6
to get more
convenient
tan grime.
locations.
I would normally
Because
use Agarax
everyone loves
in a
a
couple of
Harrow's
the spots
chicken
that I was
pie.
using it. It came up pretty dark. I may
Now
still use a
more
little bit to
is
get in
less
some more
with
of these
Cox
cracks
Internet
like
and
this.
Cox
It's good
Mobile.
there.
From fiber-powered internet at home to
Not
more
good everywhere.
unbeatable
That's
5G
fine.
reliability on the
I've
go.
got
Get
some
Cox
cleanup
Internet
to
for
do.
only
I did find a
$35 a
spot
month
that was
when you
fleshy,
add Cox Mobile.
that
Click
needed
to
a
save.
white base coat, and then that'll get some filament flesh, which gives us this nice fleshy color. And then I'm going to take the machinery parts and some a little rust, and then we'll base this guy and we'll throw a little bit of extra gloppy dirt on the treads just to finish it up nice. So a little bit of washing, a little bit of cleanup, then we'll base him, and then we should be, proverbially speaking, good to go. See if this is actually, yeah, that's dry enough. So we'll start with Gilliman flesh, which is how I got the skin parts going before. I'm gonna probably right next hit these cracks here where there's a little bit of flesh coming through. I want to make them look a little bit less happy than this back here. So I may hit those with just a little bit of Magos purple, just tiny brush, dab it in there. And I may dab a little bit over like the veiny parts of the sack, so to speak, the flesh sack, not something like. And then I'll probably throw a little bit extra in the mouth. As you can see, you get like a really robust color under here. I think I need just a little bit more in there as well. So we will get right down to business. Turn this up a little bit and maybe crank it so it, not so it's in the shot though. There we go. All right, so right out the gate, get this fleshy part fleshed up. All right, so right out the gate, I do find with Death Guard models, it's very easy to come back a subsequent day, and this may get a second coat of this, by the way, and find little spots that you really needed to hit more. The rest of this has gotten a couple of coats of Gilliman flesh, so this one may need an additional one. That looks good for now. I will sneak in there with a little bit of Warplock bronze. Because there's some metal bits that I didn't quite get enough of. You can never have enough Warplock bronze. This is much darker bronze than, I mean, this stuff looks like chocolate. This is much darker bronze than a lot of people use, but I like it a lot because it's got a decent amount of red going for it. I dig it. It's got a decent amount of red up inside of here. I dig it. Sort of red ruddiness to it, dark to it. You still get a shine. It's a dark shine. Feels kind of right. I'm actually going to hit those, whatever these things are back here. Some of these parts, I really don't know exactly what they are. And I don't feel bad about it, because it's a demon engine. It's made out of things that are incomprehensible. If someone is sane as I am, especially to someone as sane as I am. I'll just metalize these guys, and this is one of those spots where you really got to just sort of dig in there and wiggle the brush a bit. Did pick up some more lighting. I have an obscene number of lights now lighting this workspace. I got to come up with something a little bit more manageable, but I got a lot of lights coming from different angles. Maybe I'll move this camera around a little bit and show you. Anyhow, we're just getting in here, adding a little extra metal there, so we're not having so much green when you stare at it in this direction. Just being gentle with it. There we go. Get that in there. That looks pretty good. I think I can close this guy up. Most likely in 10 minutes I'll find another spot that's missing that, but cross that bridge when we get to it. Alright, wash my brush up a little bit. So now I'm going to take that There goes purple. Wash my brush up a little bit and just use a little bit in the cracks that are just starting to show through with flesh. And in fact, I'm probably going to grab a tinier, tighter brush. Get that a little wet to start. And all I really want to do is just get a little bit of purple paint on the end of the brush and just stab it in there like a needle. It's a targeted insertion, not a wash, it's a contrast paint. So I need to be somewhat ginger with it. But it will give it a little bit of color, which I'm trying to incorporate. My guys are all Death Guard. I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more color as I go, as I learn. And really just as I get comfortable painting. Death Guard is a weird place to start. Just put it that way. There's a lot of fiddly bits. Their aesthetic is very grim, very dark. That's part of the reason my main paint scheme has some white going for it, even though it's tamped down with sepia. I need a different brush. This guy's a little cruddy. I'll be RB. Let's hide this guy over here for now. For now. Fresh new brush right off the presses. I always keep those. I use them as pipettes later for when I gotta mix paint colors, especially with like loose technical paints. I always keep those. Those can be a lifesaver. Alright, where gotta mix paint colors, gently making sure I don't stick my thumb to what I was previously painting. A little water on there to start, just to loosen it. And away. Water on there to start, just to loosen it. Just dabbing it in that crease. It's contrast paint, so it's loose. That's a little bit much, buddy. Dabbing it in that crease. Contrast paint, so it's loose. A little bit of color in there makes it stand out. And look. Color in there makes it. I don't know if it makes it look infected, but. It makes it look less. Makes it look like flesh coming through. Basically, you're getting a decent amount of color contrast. Makes it look like one little spot. You're getting a decent amount of color contrast. The little guy here. That's a lot of paint. Little spot. A brand new clean brush. Barely have to touch it to anything, and that paint will just run off the end of the brush, which is fine. You're just being super careful. Just tapping it. I'm not even running the brush across it, which is fine. Just giving it little taps. Just tapping it. I'm not even running. Those look decently purpley. I know that I'm going to use a little bit more of this in the maw. I know I'm going to use a little bit more on these little toot-toot chimney things. Don't feel bad about calling them toot-toot chimney things because, again, pretty incomprehensible demon engine. Not everything. Rational sense. Demon engine. Not everything. Once again, just sort of popping in and dropping a dot. In there. There's actually like a droplet of paint. See it on the brush. Just the droplet's just getting smaller as I paint. See the tip brush, guys. Just the droplet's just getting smaller. Turn around a little bit. With this kind of stuff, I just try to take my time. I used to rush, not rush, but like, with this kind of stuff, I used to get a little bit, I still do sometimes, bound up and be like, okay, I gotta paint this in, paint this in, paint this in. And the more you work with these paints, you start realizing it's not just about thinning your paints, it's about really starting to get a feel for why you thin them. And I'm still very much a novice, but it makes a lot more sense to me than it did when it started. When I started, I was very much, it's like my first couple of videos, I over-thinned the paint like crazy, because it was like one of the only catchphrases I knew from model painting, from mini painting. Like, thin your paints, thin your paints, thin your paints, and you should. But I was thinning mine out so much that they weren't even sticking. It was like the pigment was just running across water. but I was thinning mine out so much. But as you spend more time with brush in hand, those sort of things you're being taught start to make more tangible sense. You get a better sense of the why, not just the mantra of it. Scooch this guy a little bit. Of the why. So you know, it takes practice. It takes time and practice. As you can see, you know, those cracks there, they now have a pretty delectable amount of purple in them. That mouth is a little darker. That'll lighten up a little bit, but it definitely needed an extra coat. And now I'm going to gently add some Mortarian grime, mostly around edges and stuff, to pick up little things like bolts. Mortarian grime is pretty swampy looking. It's a greenish brown, and I like it a lot for when I feel like Agrax is going to be a little heavy-handed. So once again, I'm just like tapping some in. There's a big crack there, that's what I was getting at. But around these edges, just want bring those edges a little bit more pronounced. Once again, and the nice thing is it's a little bit greener, is like you can brush it up a little bit, and you probably only see, I can really only see the reflection of it. But you can push it around a little more without overtly changing the base green. So I'm intentionally sort of plopping it around, and you can see I've got some pretty big creases in there from when I put the model together. This is one of those you don't need glue; it's all just on posts. And my luck with those tends to be, we'll just say it's mixed. Mixed would be the way to go. Now this still may need some Agrax, but what I'm doing is this first pass here, which just gives me a light amount, just a dab of contrast in a few spots. It sort of brings the room together a little bit. You can take more than one pass at these things. The Mortarian grime as sort of a conduit between the Warplock bronze and the AK slimy grime dark. Very subtle, but it helps the shift a little bit. Just putting a little of this in a few spots when you get around. Tap these bolts a little. I find that tapping bolts is a pretty solid method. And just running the brush along some edges here. I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do it, but I've just found that, like, you spot a few bolts, you give them a tap, and the wash just sticks to it. Sticks nicely to it. So I'm even going to tap these little guys up here because they're pretty prominent. A little bit of darkness around them. They do pop already. Basically just a little bit of darkness. Wraithbone with some Seraphim Sepia. If I want to pop them a little more, it's okay to just add a little bit of sepia. If I want to pop them a little darkness to them. Not sure if there's a cat in this room or if it's just at the door. My kitten loves this room. Full of toys. He runs off with my sponges quite regularly, and I'll get some in these cracks here. Sort of dab it in with the length of the brush because these are long cracks, so you just sort of lay the brush down on them. There we go. There we go. That's looking pretty cool. I think that's probably enough for now. Yeah, there's a cat definitely at my door. I'm under siege. At this point, I'm going to switch brushes, switch palettes, really. At my door, I'm under siege. A chunk of... At this point, I'm going to switch brushes, switch palettes, really. Craft board, which I'm going to use. I use this for dry brushing. I still have a paper towel off to the side that you can't see, but I use it to smush my brush in. So I can open this without sending it across the room. This is Viejo Light Rust. This is not pre-gaming my metal with Typhus Corrosion. See if that's a mistake or not. And this is obviously not as light as that you can see as Rise of Rust. I generally use on weapons. Obviously not as this light as that you can see as Rise of Rust. This is super light. I'm not even sure this is for dry brushing. We're gonna see. I may actually have to rust this first. I'm not even sure this is for dry brushing. I'm not sure that's gonna fly. That is different than what I was using before. This stuff is thicker. Maybe that's an oil? Oh, that is a wash. Ha! That makes sense. It's about as thin as a wash. It is. Oh, that is a wash. There we go. Shake it a little bit. It is. When we learn the lesson. Oh, nope, that is definitely wrong too. I grabbed my wrong bottles. When we learn the lesson. Oh, nope, that is definitely wrong. There we go. I grabbed my wrong bottles. I almost put airbrush paint. Not that I've never used airbrush paint with a brush. But there we go. There we go. I grabbed 3 bottles off of my other desk and then apparently there we go. Grabbed all wrong. Yeah, that's 3 bottles off of my other desk and then I'll do this and then I'll need something light, but not one of those ones that I grabbed. I'll do this and then I'll need something light, but not one of those ones that I grabbed. I'll do this and then I'll need something light, but not one of those ones that I grabbed. The main things I want to get are these little wheelie gears and making sure that I'm getting the edge little wheelie gears and of all this stuff, because this is going to get dirt all over it. So I don't need to worry too much about that stuff. Of all this in there, this is going to get squeezy all over it. I don't need to worry too much over here. Yeah, that stuff's pretty good. I like this. I like this a lot. Angular squeezy in there. I got this edge nice. Might as well just hit these things a little bit to take the lighting down. I got this edge nice. Might as well just hit these. Well, most of this actually these sides matter. This right here will be under the base because it's stuff like that, or above the base. These will get some view. As much as I'm going to dirty them up, what's underneath does matter. These will get some view. As much as I'm going to dirty them up, what's underneath does matter. Inside view. Here too. There we go. Turn this to the point where we can see it. Over the metallics, this Viejo Rust is a nice hue, but it's also got a very strong matte to it. But it's also, as you add subsequent rusty bits, hit this guy too, right? You add subsequent rust to it, your rust effects have somewhere to stick. I might actually hit this guy with Rise of Rust. I know that I can prevent myself from doing that. I like that stuff so much. I'm guessing it's probably cliche, but I've been around long enough to care about cliches. I care about what I'm having fun painting. A couple little dabs. You can sort of, what do you call it, stipple? If you have a little round thing like that, you just tap. Maybe a little bit of a stroke to it. Yeah, that's looking good. You just tap. Maybe a little bit of some of these other bits. A few dabs here and there. Doesn't need to be crazy. Certainly doesn't need to be like perfectly symmetrical at all. You'll be hiding, but I'll hit you anyway. Certainly doesn't need to be like perfectly symmetrical at all. I almost wonder. You'll be hiding, but I'll hit you anyway. Certainly doesn't need to be like. Yeah, it's not really adding much. I almost wonder. Yeah, it's not really adding. Yeah, adds a little something. That's kind of neat. Yeah, adds a little something. That's kind of neat. I'm just getting a tiniest amount of texture out of hitting these lead edges with this. I'm not sure it's a great idea, but it gives a little bit more wear to it. Gotta be careful with this model. It's got a lot of, not loose parts, but like gives a little bit more. These things all wiggle. These long posts are the only things holding these treads on. You gotta be pretty careful with it. Probably, honestly, I should be careful with all my models, but gotta be pretty careful with it. Probably, it is what it is. Okay. I will secure a bit of rise or rest. Okay. I will secure a bit of rise or rest. I found my light rust from Viejo. That is what I confused. That. I found my light rust. Maybe I will use a little wash after this. I'm still learning a lot about rust and effects and stuff. Maybe I will use a little wash after this. I'm still learning. Yeah, that's the stuff I've used before, and it does not take much. Does not take much at all. Yeah, that's the stuff I've used before, and it does not take much. Does not take much at all. Now we're just being super gentle with this. We're not trying to dig in deep. Now we're just being super gentle. Just trying to hit a little bit of the edges of stuff. Dig in deep. A couple little dabs. Just trying to hit a little bit of the edges of stuff. I don't need to go crazy. I'll go pretty nutty on like weapons for Death Guard with this stuff. I don't need to go crazy. But I just find that a very light hand. But I just find that a very actual gears and stuff is pretty good. My Knight Tyrant back there, I went a little heavy in a couple spots on the back, but that was like is a huge piece of real estate that I needed to. My Knight Tyrant back there, I went get a little bit of variance on. That was like is a huge piece of real estate. I guess at the end of the day, it's like make sure the amount of rust you're adding just add a little bit of a story to it. Not a story, but like a rationale. Make sure the amount of rust you're adding. Why are you rusting this? Not a story, but like a rationale. Wear and tear? Is it chaos corrosion? Why are you rusting? You can answer that question for yourself. You're probably doing an okay job on your model. You can answer that question once again. Just a little bit of that Viejo rust on your model. Just getting in these gears and these side plates here. Keeping in mind that there is going to be a lot of dirt stuff that goes on this, so I don't need to worry too much there. And then just kind of dabbing in dirt stuff that goes on this where I see spots that could use a little bit more. I'm going pretty subtle on this. Where I see spots that could use a little bit more. All right, going pretty subtle on this. That's in pretty good shape. Just enough color that you can see it coming through. Set that guy aside and all of his blinding colored glory. Clean this brush a little bit. Guys, I've seen some things. Clean this brush a little bit. Get him a little cleaner. Some things. I'll obviously give him a thorough dip later on. So I think I'll obviously give him a thorough dip later on. Lots of rust because of forcing. Oh, that is so true. We do need a lot of rust. Yeah, so that is so true. Thank you very much. That's very kind. This is a bell from actually it's a sensor from my miasmic malignifier. Those got heavily rusted. Actually, I can tend to go pretty nuts with the rust. And welcome aboard. One of the things I like almost as much as rust is mud. So, moving on, we are going to see how this guy fits on here. I'm really psyched. This is a gift. I wasn't expecting to have one of these in my army, but now I love him. He's so adorable. He's like a cute little monster. How would you ever shoot at this guy? Just trying to be cute. I might have to take these pegs off the bottom. I don't feel very good about them. As I said, this model is pretty. Yeah, I'm gonna clip those off. Those don't seem safe at all. That's what I got glue for. Yeah, I'm gonna clip those off. Those don't seem safe at all. One. That's what I got glue for. 2. 3. And to be honest, I should have clipped all these pegs at the very beginning. All the ones on the inside. Because the model probably would have turned out better. But live and learn. Alright, so I'm gonna glue that guy in pretty much over where the peg holes were. And we're gonna do pretty much over where the peg holes were. I'm gonna let him sit there for just a little bit. And then we're gonna add a bunch of dirt underneath. I'll probably add some skulls and some shrubbery. This guy will be ready to join my army. I always find things later. Ready to join my army. I always find things later. But yeah, I love technology in 40K where it's like there's so many things that they can do that are amazing. But then they rely on absolute like human power for other things. Like every Space Marine has serfs running around, cleaning all their stuff up, giving them, more ammunition, cleaning all their stuff up. It's a really interesting juxtaposition of like old and future. It's a really interesting. It's just so interesting to me. And obviously, like with Death Guard, it's like these are things that are like this. This is a machine, but also a demon. So it follows its own rules from the war. This is a machine, but also a demon. But yeah, I'm heavy-handed with Rust. I'm heavy-handed with Grime. But this being my first, army ever, it's been a challenge. There really are an amazing number of different crazy details all over the place on every Death Guard model. But I like a lot of that stuff. I didn't know if I would, but see if I can find something neat. I didn't know if I would. I'm a little biased. Like just this model. This is, I think, the first Plague Marine that I ever did. He's got chains that are rusty. I've got 2 Plague Blades, rusty. He's got teeth coming out of his chest. He's got weird hoses. All this stuff. Crazy details. There's a lot to absorb. But you get to try a lot of things and learn a lot of things. I don't want to say fast because I'm definitely still very much learning. But it puts you through your paces. See, this is stuck. Nope, it's not. That's how you find out. Let that guy sit for another couple minutes. But it puts you through your paces. Like on this model, it's like it's not just that I've got metallics to do and sort of like a bone armor kind of look and some standard Death Guard stuff. I mean, thing's got boils sticking through it. There's little cracks with his flesh. It's got a flesh sack underneath it. It's got a lot of stuff that should be rusty. It's got the what do you call it, mandibles sticking out in front. It's got a fleshy mouth. You just learn a lot of stuff. And you try a lot of things. And they don't all work, strangely enough. And you try a lot of things. But a lot of them do. You know what I wonder? I wonder if that's a blessing that this doesn't stick. It may be smarter for me to just glop on all my basing material. It may be smarter for me to just and then put this guy in it. All my basing material. Never done that before. I don't know how well he'll stick, but I'm gonna find out. So what I am gonna do is with the skulls and stuff that get added to it, definitely gonna just plunk them in. Who knows? Is it a good idea? Definitely gonna just unclear. Is it something to worth learning about? Clear. I think so. Something to worth learning about. That was so nice of you to just like drop in and give me that. That was so nice. The strange world we live in. It's neat though. It makes me super happy. Strange world we live in. It's neat though. I gotta say, painting with company, it's a heck of a lot of fun. I gotta say, painting with company, it's a heck of a lot of fun. My thumb gets stuck to the side there. Alright, so this may not be enough, but I'm basically doing cake decoration here. Alright, so I use, I thought these were dental tools. I think they're actually for clay. They're probably, people who use them for clay probably originally got dental tools. But I used to use a lot of tools like this for lost wax casting eons ago when I did it. It was super helpful. And a lot of these have 2 sides to them. So that you can sort of spatula glop a pile of stuff on, and then have a tinier piece, especially with like, little biped human-sized things. You can sort of put more of this glop in there, just to be precise. Things you can sort of. Yeah, I think this will work. It is starting to look like a cake, though. Just to be precise. Yeah, I think this will work. I have a lot of progress to make in terms of basing. I'm getting better at it, but I'm finding it's like an art to itself. And getting better at it, but I'm finding it's like an art to itself. It benefits from doing it a lot, and I skipped on a lot of them. Like I think I spent a whole afternoon like basing all my poxwalkers because I just hadn't yet. And I always feel bad because I tend to get near the end of a project and I'm like, I'll base it later. And I know everyone suffers from that, but it's like I am. Not everyone suffers like that. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I gotta go base my stuff. But every time I do it, I love it. It's like super fun. A lot of people are like, oh, I gotta go base my stuff. All this texture stuff going on. Every time I do it, I love it. I did have the foresight to put a towel next to me before getting started with this because I knew this base was massive. It was going to be, I won't say problematic, but base was massive. Maybe a little problematic. All right, I have a basing bin. Toys. A basing we use, including skulls and little tufts of grass. Wasteland skulls and little tufts of grass. Yeah, wasteland tufts. Alrighty. So what I'm gonna do is snip off. Alrighty, some skulls. The skulls are neat. So what I'm gonna do is snip off. Skulls are very neat. I love skulls. Some skulls. I'm gonna scooch this thing back. Skulls are very neat. I love skulls. Just a bit. Give myself some space to breathe. Scooch this thing. Just pluck a couple good ones of these, and these guys will get a wash once they're on there. Space to breathe. Those one of those. One of those. A couple good ones of these. Cool looking skull. Get a wash once they're on there. I'm not too worried. I do need to do a little bit of snippy sandy on these, but that's fine. I'm not too worried. I do need to do a little bit of snippy sandy. Cyclopean skull, but I just I prime these on the spray. And I know that that's not the greatest thing in the world. I prime these, but generally these are going to get pushed in the mud in some way, shape, or form, pushed up against something. You don't often some way, shape, or form have to do too much touch up. I basically just put these guys on most of the time. Give them a wash. They're pretty good. If there are sprue connection spots that look really bad, just tap it once with, in this case it would be Wraithbone. You're generally good to go. Alrighty. Let's add some skull action. And if I want to look super professional, I should use tweezers, right? Skull action. And if I want to look super don't worry, I don't spend all my days worrying about looking super professional, but I am going to make this into, turn on your side there. Sort of little pile of skulls. Make this into, turn on your side there. So it has some sort of meaning. It has some sort of meaning. Decoration 101. I hope this guy sticks in here. It doesn't. I don't want to say I'm up the creek, but I hope this guy sticks in here. We'll have things to think about. I don't want to say I'm up the creek, but I should, at this point, plop him on there. We'll have things to think about. I don't want to say I'm up the creek. I know he fits right. At this point, plop him on there. You can sink in a little bit. And I will actually let him scooch. I will let him dry into this stuff before I put any more of this Viejo diorama effects. I highly recommend you get a big tub of this stuff rather than using the tiny little pots that you can get from Citadel. Just get a huge pile of it, and then if you, with the exception of needing to go lighter, if I want it to be darker, just get a huge pile, throw a wash on it, and it's good to go. With the exception of needing to go lighter. But anyway, I'm going to let this guy dry in place before I put more of that mud on the treads. This guy doesn't have a base. When I made the meat wagon, you can actually see this is interesting. I used a lot of the same techniques. I did the same thing as far as all the rust on the inside there. Actually, see, this is interesting. Getting a decent amount of dirt, nice and gritty, on the treads helps a lot. Just in terms of how it looks, and gives you this nice sort of shine absorbing rough texture on there. But I'll wait till this guy's dried in his mud, and then I'll just splatter a little bit more on there. I'm getting a bit more brazen with having the guys look like they're a little bit sunk in, and got some shrubberies using. Having the guys look like they're. Flip this towel this way so I don't stick my elbow in a bunch of diorama effects mud. And this guy will get a few tufts around him. Few little tufts. This guy will get a few tufts. And few little tufts. Help spice things up a bit. I don't want to go crazy with this. It's not a mega base. I don't want to go crazy with this. It's not a mega base. I want to go full typhus on this one. Basically what I'm going to do is just scooch in. I want to go full typhus on some tufts. You can put them close to each other. Scooch in. Look pretty good as long as you just don't constantly repeat the exact same size. So you see I'm like grabbing a big one, medium size, and I'll probably grab a couple two small little bits. So you see I'm like grabbing a big one, poked into the corners here. If you do that, it doesn't end up looking like you just grabbed a bunch of circles and popped them on there. I mean, if that's your thing, you do it. It doesn't end up looking like you just grabbed a bunch of circles. Not what I'm going for here. Oh, that guy is unhappy. I mean, if that's your thing, you do it. Doesn't end up looking. You want a stick? Not what I'm going for here. So funny. He's like springing away because of his buddy. There we go. Just give him a little tap. And I will hit this with another big one, but give it a little bit of a gap. Tap him in. Medium sized one over here. Tap him in, and then grab a smallie. Sort of turn it into a triad. Tap him in, and then grab a smallie. Like that. Turn it into a triad. Oh, if I still had the one more point of dexterity I had in my youth. Alrighty, so those look kind of neat. Skulls there. I don't think I want to throw anything in front of him. I may decide to make his mandibles. I may throw some blood for the blood god on those and then drip some on the ground. I've seen some pretty darn cool versions of this on Reddit. Where it looks like the thing was just chowing down, chowing face. I'm not sure I want to do that because he's pretty classy looking right now. Pretty classy. So with that said, hopefully this, yeah, I'm not going to risk it. I want to lift this thing up, but it's still a little bit wet. Finger underneath it like that. You can see he's looking pretty cool. He may need a couple other little effects for his base. He's got, you know, pile of skulls. Those will get some Seraphim Sepia once this dries, and that'll basically get them pretty close. I water down my Seraphim Sepia when I put it on skulls, but it'll get it precariously close to what this carapace looks like. Got some tufts over there. He is, for all intents and purposes, the term battle ready once he dries off. Which is neat, because at this point, as much as I've only been doing this for a short time, I am about 8 Plague Marines, excuse me, and 1 Mortarian away for 2,000 point army. Coming soon, I will have to come out of my shell, go to a store where other nerds like me go and pick up games, join a tournament or something, but I need to learn to play. Because I'm there. And I have a full combat patrol at this point, so I can roll with that too, which is exciting. But I mean, I think that gets us all done with this guy. He is ready to rock. Myphitic Blight hauler. Anywho, thank you very much for watching, and water bottle getting, because it doesn't say the whole rest of your name. Let's see if I can click that and it'll say something. Anyway, buddy, you're the best. Thanks for just stopping in and dropping $5 on my head. That was super kind and made my night. Anyhow, folks, Next time around, it'll be a pile of Plague Marines, and I'll try to come up with a slightly different aesthetic than I've done so far. Not too crazy, but I want to get some variants. I'm also going to what I'm going to do is actually paint a ring around a lot of their bases so that I can easily decipher who's in what squad. Unit? Unit. But anyhow, it was a fun night, sort of short, but it's the middle of the week. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Take care. Sort of short. Bye-bye. It's the middle of the week. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.